I'm going to talk about the findings from my study. And I'll be talking about it in terms of primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary contradictions. These layered contradictions illuminate the process of teachers coming to know how they realize themselves of their entitled beliefs, the development of historical consciousness, and also empathy for students. All of this became motivation for teachers to rethink their practice. Now, the primary contradiction, which is also the first stimulation for teacher change, this was driven by a destabilizing experience that teachers went through during the pandemic when they had to shift suddenly to online mode of teaching. They felt that they were losing their grip on students. And so they were very concerned that students would fail the test if they didn't listen to the teaching and learn what was given to them. So they came to us seeking help. And our rural students are poor in learning. Now they'll fall more behind other students in the cities. How can we motivate them to listen to our teaching and answer? So this is where teachers were when they came to us. They had seemed to hold a deficit view of students as poor learners. Probably it was because of this entitled. This is what made them feel excessively entitled to follow mimetic practices and keep the students passively listening while they taught, and the students had to reproduce what was given to them. Their entitled beliefs provided no motivation for them to question their own practice, or did they have any motivation to imagine students from their own perspective? Now, this primary contradiction gave way to a secondary contradiction in the second simulation that my colleague and I provided these teachers, the resources we brought to them in the formative initiative that we conducted for them. The secondary contradiction surfaced in the clash between teachers' established object and practice of teaching, which was very conventional, and the way learning was mediated in the formative initiative, as opposed to teachers' transmission of knowledge in a vertical teacher-student relationship. The modes of participation that we facilitated to teach to the students was giving them full freedom to follow their interests and present what Gutierrez talks of as the authentic self. And our syllabus was emergent. It was largely based on the contributions that the students made, expressing their interests and competence, and the artifacts that they created and shared with us. And our mediation means also involved elaboration of the contributions that students brought by encouraging them to talk, take it further, think further about it through open-ended questions, and also acknowledge their diverse views by asking them to, and also ask them to reason underlying the views that they held. We also help them co-construct text and meaning based on their contribution, and adapted a metacognitive perspective on verbal interaction so that they developed language awareness. However, we had a teething problem. There was a kind of alienation that we felt with the disconnect that we felt with the students. Their identity was masked by the screen name because the phones that they used did not belong to them and didn't carry their names. And all the efforts that we put in to draw them into a friendly conversation was met by their silence, and we felt as if we were talking to the walls. Besides, there was Wi-Fi disruptions, and so students kept appearing and disappearing, not only because of Wi-Fi disruption, also when they wanted to avoid answering the questions that we posed to them. So this made the teachers observe. Same thing happens to us when we try. They just don't bother. They don't listen, simply a waste of our efforts. Now, There was a gradual process of establishing connection with the students, but the teachers failed to appreciate that this was part of an important aspect of pedagogy. Getting to know the students, relating to them in ways that were non-threatening to them, warm up relationship, and get to know them. All of this was taking a lot of time. And then the teachers became very anxious. They said, we won't have time to finish portions and prepare them for exams if we wasted so much time on all this. So teachers' skepticism, their despair and dismay gave way to curiosity and interest. There was a change in the teachers when students started gradually to respond to our overtures. And a very major breakthrough came when we invited one of the students from a senior class to share some of his pictures. He was an avid photographer. And these are some of the pictures that he shared. And all of us were very appreciative of this. And the students also were very excited. And they started responding with exclamations and comments. And when we reached this picture, especially because it's to do with a local legend, all of us got very curious to know what this was about. And then the boy explained that the villagers tied a piece of wood, like a float, to the leg of a rooster, and they let it drift here in this canal, and it surfaced downstream about 30 kilometers away. And all of us were drawn and curious about this. And one of the students burst out, won't it get hurt? And all of these comments and questions that came from the students, both in mother tongue and also in English, were gathered by my colleague on a whiteboard. And these became the teaching moments for us. And other students took cue from this, and from then on, we had no dearth for material contribution from the students for the classroom. And these are some of the things that students shared. And they also shared some pictures and wrote something below that. So they were also learning language in their effort to express their meanings. And they also created some artifacts and drawings on all religious occasions. And this boy here, he was very interested in pop culture. And his teachers thought that was a waste of time because he seemed to be very disengaged in class and he didn't attend classes regularly. So they had almost given up on him and they complained that they didn't know how to really help him, motivate him to learn. But in our group, he had a very interesting audience for his talent. And we were very interested to listen to his song, and he was happy to present it too.
Is crazy ನನ್ನಂತೋನು ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲೂನು ಸಿಗ್ತಾನೇನು ನನ್ನಂತೆ ಯಾರು crazy 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 boy how is you crazy.
And he felt very happy being with us. And then he started coming regularly to the classes that we held. And in fact, he used to be the first to be there. And he also started taking interest in learning language. He used to write something and present it like the others. And he was also open to corrections. And his teachers were really surprised, very surprised by the transformation that they saw in him. And WhatsApp provided an asynchronous way of keeping connection with students. And we posted something and students responded to it. As you can see here, I shared this picture of a guava. And then there was a student who said, see, this one small plant, so many guavas. So they were learning English and trying to express themselves. And birthdays were occasions when we met the family and we'd order a cake and make sure that it was delivered to their home. And the family gathered to celebrate, and they were also online with us. And students used this occasion to conduct some language games. And we used to have a very enjoyable party playing all these games on birthdays. Students were also learning to write while co-constructing play script. This is one example. And here's another example of learning to write using a picture stories. These drawings are made by the students and they'd come to class and narrate the story with us. And then we'd use that to co-construct text in English. And the students also wanted to show that they were aware of language that we taught them as need arose. And here they are displaying their learning and also along with that understanding. On the right side, they put all the meanings of the words that they've used here for the rhyming words in their mother tongue because they knew by now that we expected them to know the meaning of whatever words or expressions that they used. And the students were very enthusiastic to take part in the school celebrating Independence Day, and they wanted to participate through by saying something there, presenting something, and so they took turns to present.
Good morning, everyone. Respected chief guests, headmistress, teachers, parents, and all my dear friends. First of all, I wish you a very happy Independence Day. I feel great to present this speech. This day is the most important day for all of us because on this day.
Yeah. Although they use the script to read out, but they were also, you can see that they are quite spontaneous because it's something that they constructed and, they co-constructed with us and they knew what they were saying. So whatever they presented, the production of meaning was meaningful to them. And so it was really, they conveyed the meaning of whatever they wanted to say. And students also made choices, career choices that were socially responsive. One of the students said, I want to be a policeman and help people. Another said, I want to be a forest officer, protect forests, animals, and birds. Students were also linking their intention to social action. This was a eco-friendly toilet that the students created, designed, and they won the competition in an inter-school competition, and they are also going to use this to help villagers build toilets like this. We were a happy community of learners, and the experience of this new classroom with its own cultural roles and rules that was very different from teachers' conventional classroom helped the teachers imagine the possibility of teaching in new ways where they could give voice to students. And teachers started appreciating students' ability and eagerness to contribute to the collective learning. One of the teachers said in the after class session, Friday morning itself, students start calling me about Saturday class, what they want to share. We helped teachers to theorize from their new experience, and this helped them to reevaluate their assumptions and practices. All of this provided opportunities for us to help them think deeper about where the students came from and who these students were, what the nature of their competition or competence was, and also what made school an alienating experience for them. And these historical analysis that the teachers participated in helped them to develop empathetic understanding of students, how disadvantaged they were by a long history of oppression and exclusion. They also realized that the teaching that they did unreflectively aligned with the demands of the institution, which not necessarily was conducive to student learning. And this realization made them resolve that they would do justice to students and follow their interests and connect to students in ways that made sense to them. So all of this experience helped them see teaching and learning in new ways. A new object was evolving at the intersection of the old conception of teaching and the new experience that they were going through. And the formative initiative became the zone of proximal development to explore new ideas for their classrooms. And they wanted to implement their new learning in the classroom, but this created a tertiary level of contradiction because they used their personalized object of teaching. It deviated from the narrow established institutional object of teaching to the test and helping students pass the exam by reproducing given answers. So these teachers wanted to create a new culture, and they had to engage in modifying their practice, making inroads within the existing constraint. And here's how a teacher explained this. I don't dictate ready-made answers. I convert it into a fun activity involving students like Prema, my colleague, does. I co-construct summaries with the children. More students participate now, and there's more learning. I mean, meaningful learning, and everybody laughs because there's a background to this. Earlier, teachers used to think that learning was helping students to learn the given. But now, with the new experience, they changed their idea of learning and they saw that it was learning involved make a dialogic meaning making process. Teachers' personalization of the object of teaching was challenged by the surrounding inertia. All the stakeholders, including the educational officers who came to inspect them, expected them to teach through the tests, complete so many units within the month. And this created another quaternary layer of conflict. And through this quaternary layer of conflict, teachers also started to cultivate a professional and activist stance to defend their intentional acts with reasoned justification and also exercise their autonomy. For example, when one of the teachers, one of the teachers said, earlier I would quietly put my head down if any officer found fault. But this time I took him to the class. He was very impressed interacting with the students. So, where are the teachers going after the intervention? Now, during the intervention, my colleague and I had guided the teachers, helped them navigate through the tensions that they faced. But after the intervention was over, there were still problems that the teachers had to face in their context of teaching, that the excessively entitled attitudes, behavior, and clashes that arose in social interaction and systemic demands. And these teachers then started to do intervention, formative intervention on their own, reflecting on the situation and planning something of how they could navigate through these tensions. And so they became, this was a kind of a sustaining learning that the formative initiative gave them, that carried them through to also continue to develop and negotiate the problems, emerging problems, and still hold on to their values. There's one point that I'd like to stress here, that the path to teacher learning and change runs through their prevailing entitled beliefs and not by bypassing them. In this initiative, teachers reworked their spontaneous entitled beliefs in dialectic with their new experience. Thank you.